Hi everyone. Uh, Happy to be here once again, and welcome to all of you on Natukun VCTV today. Today's topic is future of work in education. Today I am moderating the panel because the moderator is missing today. Hence, I'm helping the moderator to moderate this panel. And I'll start with a brief intro about myself. I was in Singapore and Jakarta for 15 years in investment banking. I had my own family office fund there. And this is my seventh year back in India. I did some investments and then I went back to advisory. Currently, I'm connected with 300 investors globally, and we are sector agnostic. We pick up global deals. Typically, we do $1 million to $35 million. I have given 155 talks all over the world, and this month I'm nominated as the top 10 women leaders in wealth management 2021. Very happy to moderate this panel, and I have with me Dr. Shrikant today. So I would request Dr. Shrikant to introduce himself. Hi, Dr. Shrikant, welcome you to VCTV, and my humble apologies if I make any mistakes today.
No, errors and omissions completely accepted, and congratulations, Vandana, on being on the top 10. And I personally know what fantastic job that you've done in the VC community as well as in the top community, so to speak. Um, uh,
Okay.
I am Dr. Shrikant Patsate. I am legal counsel and I act as a counsel for Forbes 500. And this typically involves not the typical documents that you see day in and day out, because working with the family office is quite different from working with any other corporate organizations, because they would expect you as a general counsel to be counsel for everything. So that's how a general counsel works. So it could be as simple as, look, this particular startup came to me. He or she brought this particular idea. Why don't you advise? So unfortunately, the degrees that I have, or the education qualifications that I have, forces me to give certain free advice to these family offices. Of course, it's a different matter how I recover it. The advice so given. So I'm a chartered accountant. I'm also a legal counsel. I also hold a PhD, if it matters, uh, uh, in law and finance. Happy to be here, especially to talk about education, because that is something which is close to my heart. I've spent close to 15 years post I would say high school, in just education, in just being a student. So happy to
So,
do it.
what are your opening thoughts about this topic today? Future of work and education, if I may ask. Like, what do you
So
feel like? What is this topic all about? Future of work and education.
I think Vandana, we need to separate these two out. We need
Yeah.
to call them out separately, because the future of education is not necessarily the future of work, and the future of work is not necessarily the future of education. The future of education, to me, is again divided into multiple. It has got multiple legs to it. You've got the K-12, and then you've got the graduation, and then you've got the post graduate. If you typically look at what a postgraduate, let me arrange my thoughts in a descending manner, which is what a postgraduate typically wants. Vandana, you would agree with me over here. It's is the college life, is the connection in real time with someone. So I think the campus life is something that is going to be missed by post graduate students, and how that is going to shape up in the future is that you will not have physical campuses, and you will not have those American Pie kind of movies being retaken to the modern scenario, because The American Pie movies do not exist anymore. The college life doesn't exist anymore. So what is going to happen is a shift from the traditional costs that we have incurred in education. The education is quite expensive in the West. It's still very expensive in India, especially postgraduate
Yeah.
from premier institution. So that is going to change. That's number one. Number two, that is going to change in education is the mode of delivery. So if I have taught, I've been a teacher for the past 7 years. When I say teacher, I've been a professor for the past 7 years, and I've only taught postgraduates. And the touch and feel that you have when you have a physical classroom and when you have that semicircle around you is a different thing. And when you have an online platform, you do not know when the video is going to turn off and so on and so forth. You really can't monitor. That's number one. So I think there is a lot of I would say demerits to the online system of I would say education per se, because the teachers are also not motivated, aren't they? They're not motivated to speak to a bunch of students because they do not want to. They do not know. Half of the time is just spent asking whether the student is online or offline. That is number one. Now let me turn my attention to the graduate life. The graduate life is again different because the graduate never listens to a professor at all. At least in the emerging economies in the West is different. So let me talk about the emerging economies. The emerging economies, the graduate doesn't listen to the lectures at all. The graduate is only looking at the classroom and the classroom mischief that they do. So I think that is going to continue. So at a graduation level, I don't see any change because the beer parties that intend to have that they intend to have are still going to happen, so to speak. Now, turning my attention to K-12, I'm a father to a 7-year-old, and I can very punitively say that my son, when he goes to the school once in a while, and he sees the teacher, he literally doesn't recognize her at all. And imagine a situation where a child, where the brain is still forming and the neural networks is still developing, uh, he or she doesn't recognize the teacher at all. That's a dangerous situation for me, for him, and for the teacher all the more, because the teacher will be very sad to hear that she or he did not is not recognized. So that is the psychological aspect to it. From a cost aspect, you will find the increase in investment in technology so as to deliver better quality teaching is just going to be higher and higher, because you are still going to have those 360-degree cameras, and you're going to be equipping everyone with the digital infrastructure to enable them to have the education that they need. That the merit of it is that you will have democracy in teaching. The Just like we are live online and anybody can see or watch our video and understand what the thought process of Dr. Shrikant or Vandana is, there is a lot of democracy. They can know what is being taught in a classroom. So
Yeah.
I think from that particular perspective, it's really good. Now, from a work perspective, I mean, we were just getting started on a 4-day week. I think we are nowhere near the 4-day week. We are on a 7-day week. I think the online mode has not resulted in a 4-day week at all. I mean, just when we were about to start, we just failed. It was an Elon Musk moment, wasn't it? When he tried to launch a few days back, and 2 seconds before the launch, he was not given a clearance for the launch. So I
Right.
think from that perspective, I'm not quite optimistic about it. But what is happening is productivity is increasing. I am able to attend courts slash clients in various geographies, which I wouldn't have fathomed to even attend. And imagine the loss that I'm causing to the airline industry by just having this digital conversations. Uh,
Hmm.
I used to be upgraded as a business class usually, but I don't think those upgrades will stand the currency anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I totally get you. I have two kids. My daughter is um, going to grade 12 next month, and my son is in grade 10. Though they are in IGCSE curriculums, but I have seen the pattern of my son. You know, what happens in the school hours. And initially, now is teachers have the hang of Zoom now. Initially, the teachers didn't know anything about Zoom, so it was a disaster. Now the teachers have learned Zoom. So, and what's the pattern of the kids? I can see it, you know. So I understand totally what you're saying. And I also agree that, this pandemic has really hit the students, psychological behaviors, and, being locked at home, and, just talking on the computer. And sometimes kids might not even pay attention. So I agree with you. And for work also, like, in some aspects, I feel also that, uh, it's okay, it's good that we can work from home, we can do 10-15 meetings online and stuff like that. But in some ways also, when we used to go to office, we used to finish the work faster than when it is at home, because at home the doorbell will ring, somebody will come, or other stuff goes on as well. Though it's easily manageable now, but still, so this is what I feel about it as well. And of course, pandemic has really hit us bad, and so it's affected both. Future of work and education is both affected that way. And kids do need a school environment, because they maximum can perform in that environment. And, like my daughter's, after her 12th, she's thinking now, you know uh, it's still, studies from home, then she's missing that part, which is after 12, the university interactions and other stuff that happens. So, that's the thing. So, you know I have another question actually. What skills will be there, needed in the for in the workforce, uh, in the future? What do you feel, what will be the skills that would be needed?
It's quite a interesting question, a question which has to be pondered upon by psychologists
Yeah,
and CEOs and managers together, because the skill sets that are required, a used to be, like you very rightly said, Vandana, used to be the hang of Zoom or hang of an online platform. But
yeah,
now the skill sets is about multitasking. It's about having a baby on the side and attending to calls, and also looking at what could happen. For example, for all, if you have watched my previous videos, I used to be in a different background. Now I'm in a different background purely because of the
yeah,
reason that there's something going on over here in front of me. Uh, so, uh, so I have to attend to that and this. So the skill set is multitasking.
yeah.
And if you see, if you, I disagree with you, Vandana, on one particular point, which
Okay,
is work gets done faster when when you are in an office. I disagree with you over there, primarily because of the fact that there is a travel that you
yeah,
incur to the
yeah,
office, and then there is an allocated time, and there is a boss who's carrying that typical office mug and coming around, and boss. I believe even in an office, it used to be such a silo that you used to work in a cubicle. So before you graduate to a a cabin, and then a bigger cabin, and then the cabin gets and the sea looking cabin, and so on and so forth. uh, I think when you start at the cubicle level, even at that level, you do not interact much other than the mails that happen as escalations, and so on and so forth. So from a productivity point of view, I think it's a 24/7 job. So I think the pay should be threefold now, to the workforce, because the
Yeah, yeah,
productivity is actually gone up. Productivity is actually gone up in the sense, the number of hours being put in is actually gone up. So I wouldn't
yeah.
exactly say productivity is gone up. So what has gone down is primarily those office conversations which used to motivate the employees, and that physical, I would say, those office romances. I mean, I can't put it in a different manner.
Oh,
Those
oh.
romances are not there. Those used to be the fundamental basis, at least in my opinion. I'm not an experienced person in that particular regard, but the audience may be connecting with what I'm trying to say. The office romances make the office a lively place, and so on and so forth. So
Okay.
and then there is a psychological aspect of an alpha person, right? An
Hmm.
alpha dominance is something which is shown only if you have that physical presence in an office. I mean, how much of an alpha you are, it doesn't show up in an email or a virtual screen. So skills. Coming back to the question, I was deviating. So the skills that are required is actually fitting yourself to this, how many inches by 2 inch by 3 inch screen, or this 15-inch screen, and expressing yourself in those 15 inches.
Yeah.
That's quite less number of real estate to explore with, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely right. Actually, for me, I have actually last year closed 4 deals just sitting at home. So, for me, I mean, the pandemic has really worked well. I've cut short on my travels. I can do 16 meetings in a day. What I meant was the focus. Like when we are at work, the focus is on work only. That's what I meant. So hence, sometimes I finish my sheets and other stuff, my mailing faster there, and sometimes I'm at backlog at home. That's what I meant. uh, I don't know about the other stuff that you mentioned because I've not had that experience, maybe. So I'm sure everybody has different experiences. So that's the thing. And you know what I feel like the skills. You remember when the demonetization hit us? You know, though Paytm was already there before that, 2, 3 years before demonetization, but nobody really bothered, like, to use it. Like, even I started using only after demonetization, the digital platforms, Google Pay, all that. So I think we were forced to use, so we started using. So now, the milkman, the vegetable man, everybody uses these platforms. Similarly, like Zoom, people already knew that Zoom exists, but they never used for their meetings. Only when this work from home happened, everybody started learning. Then we learned AirMeet, then we learned StreamYard, and we learned all these other platforms. So I think the skills is more to learn the different technologies. Because we have to every day learn something, some new technology which is coming, and we have to be proactive and hands on with that and be progressive about it. So I think this is one of the skills that we would all need, to how to go digital all the way, like enhancing our LinkedIn profile, you know, doing digital marketing for our companies and other stuff, like using Facebook story, Insta in the right manner, and even what do you call, WhatsApp stories. So, my daughter, last year, she started working for this cake company. Their revenue was zero, and she started doing their Facebook and Insta and Twitter postings, and their revenue became 3 times more. So I think it was a learning for the teenagers also, that they can use these platforms in a productive manner. So I think these skills are now really like important. Like I'm learning Instagram now. Like I should have learned it before. You know why I'm learning it now? Because I feel like it's an important thing, for work also. especially all those reels and other stuff.
I'm behind you on that, Vandana. I still haven't learned the tricks of Insta or what is that TikTok or that what is that? I come across something called influencers. Yeah, influencers. So I've
Okay.
talked a lot before about the naming platforms. That is where I gather my information about all these um, I would say digital platforms, so to speak. But what I meant, let me clarify. While
Yeah.
agreeing with you totally on that, I think one of the skills which we are missing out, Vandana, is that the skill. I won't call it a skill. Let me put it this way: the very fundamental thing of not to be depressed by the digital media or the
Yeah.
digital inflow which is happening is a big thing. I mean, that is going to be the solidarity or the that is going to be the foundational thing of the future, I believe, of my son, because this digital platform, what it does is it does bring in a level of copious amount of pressure, and to withstand that pressure itself is a skill, and
Hmm.
to not be disheartened by all these dislike buttons. Does Facebook have a dislike button? I
I
don't know
am
if
not.
LinkedIn does.
No,
LinkedIn
I think.
does.
Okay, I'm not too sure. I've just used the likes only up till now.
Yeah. So YouTube has a dislike button, right? I mean, you get one dislike on your YouTube channel, and you get disheartened. I mean, that is something that the future
Yeah.
has to learn, and number of views as well. I don't know how to put it. I think there's a merry time for pharma companies at least who are manufacturing these any of these antidepressants, so
So,
to
so
speak.
what you're saying is that we have forgotten to be real with the world that is there, and we have become so digital that it's affecting our mind, right?
Vandana, you exactly do not know whether I exist right now over here. I may not. I am putting you a very spiritual question. I may not exist here at all. I may be long gone. It's just a hologram of me speaking to you. Um,
Yeah.
that's a terrible possibility, but a possibility that I cannot negate.
Okay. Yeah, there's a possibility I'm speaking to a hologram. So, uh, so I have another question actually, Dr. Shrikant, and thank you for being on the panel today. How can one address any skill gaps that may have in order to meet the requirements of the post-COVID job market? Now, how can one address those? What do you
I
think
think
about that?
I think in the past 1 year or 1.5 years after the COVID hit us when last March. Now we are a year and a quarter ahead. I think by this time, if you haven't learned the skill, then you are quite done for. I will have to put it very bluntly. That being said, what I would like to place is the future needs to buck up for receiving so many digital messages and receiving the digital data. I think the reception of data itself is a big task. I
Hmm.
think that's a skill that the future needs to adapt, and that's a skill that I need to adapt. That's a skill that you need to adapt. I mean, you could at this particular moment. Let me be practical over here. I'm speaking
Hmm.
over here. I could technically have a meeting going on right now over here on the other on my phone. I could have
Okay.
another meeting which is happening physically, which is this client which is sitting over here. I could possibly switch off my video and possibly talk to him or
Yeah.
her. So I've got three things that I'm doing. So I think the skill for the future is to not be swayed by There was this particular scientific research that was done, Vandana, back in 2006, if I'm not wrong. There was a person who was made to drive a bus, and at the same time also simulate, I would say, driving and not sorry, piloting a train, and
Hmm.
also at the same time attending to the passengers. So he had three things. I mean, there were three or four participants. I can send you the link for that. And we failed miserably as a humanity to do more than one task. Can you believe that? In the existence of our humanity, we have not been successful in multitasking at all. And do
Yeah.
not think the future is going to be any different. I think that's a multitasking it's a very often used word, misused word, but I think that will get prominence now as a skill gap, because you need to multitask, you need to do two things at a time.
Yeah. Need to like juggle with things.
True.
Like,
And give you a full 100% at both ends. I mean, remember the study which was conducted in 2006 was not about whether you are able to do two things. It was about whether you are able to give the 100% at both ends. And we
yeah.
failed miserably as a humanity. This was the study.
So we should be able to do multitasking and that too efficiently. Not like doing multitasking and then jumbling up everything and not being able to focus as well. But multitasking, but efficiently.
True. For example, I could say very practically right now, Indira. If you had the task of speaking to me or listening to me right now attentively to what I just said, which I'm
Yeah,
speaking at say 30 words per minute, and you will have to type a message to me exactly what I spoke. It is going to
yeah,
be a difficult task for you as well as for me.
yeah,
So we can't give 100% at both ends, and we're not going to be giving our full assistance. And we also have to reserve some time for our own thoughts, which will arise from a bad meeting with the boss, bad meeting with the client, bad meeting with a judge, possibly, and then a part of the mind gets occupied over there. I mean, our brain is not built for that. Maybe the nervous system will reorganize itself. It's a part of evolution. I know it's a. I know we are on a token platform, but I think I'm deviating into psychology and spirituality really, but
yeah.
apologies.
Because actually the topic is also such. Now it's about what's going to be the future in these two areas of life, the work and education. So I know you did answer a part of about the education before, but I just still want to know, like, how will how has pandemic fundamentally changed the education, and now what do you feel the future holds? Like, what does the future hold now, and how is it fundamentally actually changed the entire thing?
The fundamental change is that the nicheness of education is gone.
Hmm.
Everybody can access everything.
Yeah.
So you do not need. I may be offending certain professors at top tier universities, but your days are numbered. We want, because you are not. I mean, your lectures are not going to be restricted to the 1,000 square feet classroom that you present. It is going to be online. It is going to be seen by everyone, and everyone's going to comment on it. And
Hmm.
your skills are going to be commented. That is exactly the future. I mean, what the future holds. And don't be offended by those comments. Learn to adapt to it. That is a fundamental shift. The second
Yeah.
shift that is going to happen fundamentally is that you as a professor or you as a teacher will have to learn to uh, fit yourself in 15 inches, and that would be a very, like I mentioned, it's a very small real estate to fit.
Yeah.
For example, I
I
have
feel
a
that.
habit of moving around in a classroom and addressing each one by their actual names and addressing, I mean, calling them out and looking at them, uh, that is going to change.
No, not only that, like I feel like for toddlers it has changed in a different way. For teenagers, it changed in a different way. Like many toddlers and the grade ones, grade two students, they didn't know like what is online learning, and like especially subjects like maths, whether it's a IGCSE curriculum, IB or CBSE, I felt that maths was the most difficult part because the children were unable to understand maths. And I
True.
feel so that was missing. And imagine for us we can still step out now at this point for meetings, but what has happened to the children is, again, they have to be on this online school for 5 6 hours. Then again, they are working or doing the work 5 6 hours. So they are not going like before. They would take the bus, go out, do sports in school, have that environment, that environment of learning and knowledge, which was the school. I feel so. I think even the children have lost a lot, especially these aspects. I feel needs to change slowly, slowly, I guess. But how do
From an
we?
evolution perspective, I'm going to tell you, Vandana, the
Yeah,
ear sizes are going to get bigger.
yeah,
Uh, the eye sizes are going to get smaller because you
yeah,
need to focus more. I think physically, I think the children are going to get smaller and smaller. We are not going to be bigger as a human race, because evolutionary thing is we do not need to be bigger because we need to fit only in the 15 inch.
yeah, yeah. I get that. I get that. So I have another question. What kind of mindset and competence will be needed in the future for workplace? I know we spoke about a few things, but if you could elaborate also like a few skills specifically, so that the if there's any audience that's watching this, they will get to know, learn a lot from you.
Well, a specific skill, that's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, okay, let me try to bucket this into three parts.
Yeah,
For a job seeker, I think the skill would be to make that real connection with the person that you intend to work with,
yeah.
and to maintain that particular connection. I think the same goes for an investor versus a investee company as well, because you need to maintain the relationship, and you cannot do that all the time. I would say virtually, or you cannot schedule it. Let me put it that way. It's
Mm,
always it's always scheduled. I mean, imagine I encountered my first client in an airport just because she commented something about the watch that I was wearing, and we got into discussion about something about real estate, and it got me discussing about her legal matter. So
right.
imagine a situation where you have to schedule everything. Now everything is scheduled. You
Yeah,
exactly know how your work day is going to be, and you really can't reach out to people unless you have a schedule. So
right.
I think the skill that is going to be developed is to have a more planned day, and to expect the unplanned towards the end of the day, possibly when there is a, I mean, especially when you're reaching out to investors and so on and so forth.
Right.
Two, there is a I think the skill that needs to be developed is also tolerance. You need to tolerate the delay. There would be delay. You cannot go and knock on the doors, literally, physically knock on the doors of an investor and ask an investor, "Are you interested?" And get the look from the investor that yes, that silent approval that you typically get. I think
Mm,
the tolerant behavior for that is because people get a little impatient these days. So what happens is, even in LinkedIn, I've noted people follow up so much that I literally have lost connection with who I have connected with, and so on and so forth. So uh, I think that will be one other thing. And number three is, I mean, fish is there has been study that has been proven that consumption of fish leads to better brain, better memory. I think everybody should start consuming fish because you need to have memory after the 20 meetings that you've attended each day, because you still can't remember who you spoke to and what their surnames were. In a physical meeting, you know exactly, you can relate back to that physical event that has happened, or the coffee that occurs, right? I think that's a skill that needs to be developed. Um, I don't know. Some of these are evolutionary. Some of these are
Yeah, yeah.
something that you can develop.
Very good insights. Like I also feel like, creativity, like human workers in the future will need to be creative to fully realize the benefits of all the new things for the future, like new products, ways of working and technologies. Robots currently can compete with humans on creativity. And the future of workplace is going to demand new ways of thinking. And I think human creativity will be the key to it. Also, I feel emotional intelligence, like you also mentioned, a person's ability to be aware of, control, and express their own emotions, as well as be, cognizant of the emotions of others, that describes emotional intelligence. You can exhibit high emotional intelligence if you have empathy, integrity, and work well with others. And a machine can't easily replace a human's ability to connect with another human being. So those have high EQs will be in demand. And of course, analytic and critical thinking, like you mentioned, a person with critical thinking skills can suggest innovative solutions and ideas, solve complex problems, using reasoning and logic and evaluating arguments. And I feel the first step to critical thinking is to analyze the flow of information from various resources. And after observing someone who's strong analytic thinker, we will rely on logical reasoning rather than emotion, collect the pros and cons of a situation, and be open minded to the best possible solution. And people with strong analytic thinking will be needed to navigate the human machine and division of labor. So I mean, these were some of my thoughts.
No, I
uh,
completely agree with you. I mean, but where I disagree with you is that this has typically been the human behavior which led them to the next. I mean,
yeah,
the analytic is what brought us from the cave to where we are sitting, right? I think
yeah.
from a future perspective, I think the time that we had as a human race to evolve from a cave to a nice study like this, the future has to do it in 10 years or possibly 15 years. So they have to work really hard to have that connect. For example, we have gotten to a point, Vandana, that if we were to have this physical conversation, if I were to look other way, you would actually pause and say, would you are you with me on this? So I think that
Hmm.
pause is gone. Now I can look elsewhere in a video conversation, and you need not, I mean, you're not offended by it. We've got so used to it.
Maybe the
We used to
direction
be
of
like,
cameras. I mean, like sometimes I feel it's just the direction of the camera, or where we are looking. But basically, we are looking at the screen only. You're right about that. So, what do you think will be, your closing remarks for today? Because, since we do have time, but since we have covered almost all the points, I thought we could head towards the closing remarks and post that where could people reach out to you for your
Sure.
services. Yeah.
The closing remarks is expect more value being demanded for the work that you do,
Yeah.
because there are so many people that your possible um, I would say opportunity giver can reach out to. She or he could have geographically reached out to only a set of 10 people earlier physically. Now,
Yeah.
since it's virtual, they can reach out to a lot of people. So be cognizant of that, and be mindful of the. This would be my advice to investors slash startups slash everyone. Be mindful of the effort that you put for a particular thing, because the effort is just tripled because you are expected to work 20%, which is psychologically not possible, but actually is what is being demanded. The second closing thought that I have is that if the expectation is up, also expect that, gather yourself with a lot of knowledge through videos like these, or conversations like these which happen all through the day, and be very relevant. You should be earlier it used to be relevant to the year. Now it is be relevant to the 1716 that I'm sitting in the Indian Standard Time.
Yeah.
That is the aspect of relevancy that you should have. I think that is what you cannot move out on relevance. Earlier, remember, let me point at a book, right? This book used to get published every year, and you are relevant every year. So now you become redundant every minute or every
Yeah.
second, I believe. That would be my closing thoughts. I am reachable at Dr. Shrikant Patsati on LinkedIn. Do not spam, please.
So, thank you very much for sharing your valuable insights today on this panel, and great to have all of you here. I mean, especially Dr. Shrikant today. And I'm very glad that I got an opportunity to moderate a panel at Latukan VCTV. I could also be reached out via LinkedIn or through my website, www.convanto.com. So please do tune in to lots of VCTV episodes coming up with lots of insights from lots of good panelists like Dr. Shrikant himself and many others who speak regular on this panel. And see you next time on another show. And have a great evening.
Thank
Bye.
you. The pleasure was all mine.
Bye.
Goodbye.